So welcome back to the show, and now we're going to talk about divorce and how divorce can keep you stuck for quite a long time. And I have the privilege, really the real privilege, to have Daryl call with me. Good night, Daryl. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you, Bertrand.
Yeah, we're saying good night because we are recording it quite late in the evening. So thank you very much for being here with us and sharing your experience and how you are inspiring people to move from wherever they are in their lives today, especially after a divorce, to really having hope and creating your own life. And I think that your story is really inspiring.
Well, thank you. It hasn't been an easy journey, Bertrand, and I think, you know, everyone, when they start out in the beginning, feels very sorry for themselves and feels quite like a victim for me. And there's a lot of tears, but when you're in that situation, you don't actually look at yourself and really see what's happening within you. But, you know, now that I've got to my stage now, I feel it's great to be able to inspire women to know that no matter what is happening in your life, no matter how stuck you feel, how desperate your situation is, how lonely you are, how much help you don't think you have, that anything is possible, and to always hold on to your dreams and always, you know, reach for the stars and go for it.
Yeah, that's a very, very powerful message that you're sharing here. But I guess that, as you said, it was not that easy at the start. But before we go to the start, I think it would be nice just to inspire people of where you are now in your life. I think this is really something very powerful.
Yes, well, where I am now is I'm really happy. I'm an independent mom. I've got 4 amazing children and a beautiful dog. And at the moment I'm trying to move, but I've got to say, a year ago I was practically homeless. I was desperate. I was coming out of a very abusive marriage. I really was quite very lonely, very sad. And I decided that, you know, that I took the inspired action to leave, which was the best thing I ever did. But at the beginning, you really can't see the end of the tunnel. But I decided a year ago I was going to turn my life around, and I made a promise to myself, because part of my journey has been about no love for myself, very low self-esteem and lack of self-worth. And I really discovered that through the abuse, which is kind of through contrast, that I was going to love myself, which, you know, isn't the best way to do it, but that was obviously my journey. And through that, I've really learned how to love myself, and it's the most amazing journey you can ever have. And that's why I want to try and help women to do that, because through loving yourself, it will just turn your whole life around, and everything then on the outside will just turn into a beautiful reflection of love as well.
Yeah, and I'm pretty familiar with your journey. And I know that it has not been really easy at times, but when you started really to embrace the love that you have for you, but also to understand that whatever happened in your marriage was because you did not love yourself, and it was a way of you punishing yourself, that you choose first this kind of relationship, but also choose to stay in it for a while. That was probably very, very freeing for you.
Yes, well, if we go back to, if you allow me to go back really, to many years ago, because obviously I've been married twice, Bertrand, and we really started off with my first marriage. I married very, very happily. I was, you know what, at the time felt I was married to the most perfect man. I had the perfect life, beautiful house, car, had, you know, my dream job, everything was wonderful, and children. But, you know, as soon as I was married and got pregnant, everything fell apart. And at the time, I didn't understand what was happening. But I can go back now and realise that there really wasn't a lot of respect, and that I didn't really follow my own dreams. I gave up everything to do with me in my power and handed it over. So that's obviously why everything kind of fell apart as well. But unfortunately, my husband had an affair while I was pregnant, and that really did make my whole life fall apart. So I found it very hard to cope. And the fact that he lied about it as well, that was really devastating for me. And because I never really got an explanation, and as the time went on down the line, when we actually did divorce, I was absolutely broken. I really didn't know what to do because he was my whole life. I didn't really know how, anything about me or my life. I gave myself up to him. So I really did fall apart. And, anyone that is going through divorce will know it's the most painful experience, because when you lose, your life, your husband and your marriage, you really have to start your life again. And if you really are broken, you don't know how to do that. And then obviously comes up anger, fears and lack of self-worth and depression and things like that. So by the time obviously I kind of got through that, I didn't really deal with it because it was so painful. I didn't know how to deal with this. So I kind of just muddled through. But because then everything spiraled, that my grandmother died, so there was dealing with grief as well. So I really did spiral down to practically suicidal, I would say. And then obviously attracted somebody into my life that wasn't very nice. And because the way I was feeling, I decided that was all I was worth. So then obviously married for all the wrong reasons and practically self-abuse, really, because I really did feel so bad about myself. So obviously that wasn't a very good marriage either, but again, I manifested that myself because of how I was feeling. So, I really did, by the time I came out of that marriage and make the inspired choice to leave, I really did decide then that it was time to start really loving myself. And as I said earlier, once I did that, then everything just fell into place. It was wonderful. But I really don't want people to have to struggle like I did and have to give themselves up, because, love is basically all you really need in your life. So whatever you're struggling with, you just have to look inside you, and you will find the inspired thing to do, definitely. I wouldn't really advise anyone to do what I did. I left my husband for 3 weeks before I had my fourth child. I got on a plane and came back. We were living in Ireland, and I came back to England, and I really did, struggle through that. But I did it because I was determined to make a go of my life and determined to turn it around. So I think when you're feeling so bad, you've really got to get to the point where you actually make the decision that you're going to change. Because once, as I call it, snot rock, when you sit on your rock and cry and cry and cry, and you're so desperate, it's a good place to be, because you're letting the tears flow, and it is very healing. But you've really got to get to the point where you are strong enough to take the inspired action, and then to come out of the place where you do feel like a victim. Because when you feel like a victim, you feel that you don't have any control of your life, and there's an outside force making the decisions for you. But as we all know, it's that you create everything from within you. So when you come out of that place, that's when the juice happens. That's when everything falls into place.
Yeah, completely.
That's really why I want to help anyone that, anyone listening to the show now that really feels desperate and stuck and in a bad place and, really tearful, that doesn't love themselves. You can change your life, and you're never too old, and you're never there's nothing that you cannot change. And it is actually quite simple, even if you start by the smallest thought pattern, to change any negative thought patterns you have about yourself, just to change it around. But unfortunately, as you and I know, with divorce, there's a lot of pain and anger and fear, and it's like layers of wallpaper. You just have to kind of go within and peel them off one at a time, because there's a lot of negative emotions, isn't there?
Yes, there's a lot, yeah. But what you said is there are two things that are really essential here. The first thing is that if you don't deal really with your own emotions or your own self-worth, if you don't accept who you are, then you're very likely to repeat the same mistake. Not same mistake, but repeat the similar kind of experiences.
Yeah, and it's like, as I like to say, at the time when we feel very sorry for ourselves, we think the whole world is against us and for me, and why is this happening to me, and I'm such a good person. But the universe is working for us, and what the universe is trying to say to me is that until you stop feeling sorry for yourself and realise that you love yourself, love comes from within, happiness comes from within. There's no outside force that's going to come along and do it for you. And that was my journey, I suppose. I had to learn that the hard way. But, once you empower yourself and once you, discover it, amazing things happen. You've really got to break the cycle, because there is no poor me and there is no victimhood and there is no nothing. It's just a thought pattern. And sometimes just even saying, is that the truth? What you're thinking, is that really the truth, or is that just me, my perception of how I want it to be, because I want to feel sorry for myself, and this has happened to me and that happened to me. But I think the first journey for me was forgiveness. Forgiveness for myself for putting me in the position in the first place in my second marriage, and then forgiveness to my first marriage. I had to go all the way back there and to forgive the lies and for the affair. But it really has made me stronger, and it really has made me love myself. And I want to say that no ex-husbands are being bashed in the making of this program, are they, Bertrand? I'm just trying to say to you what my story was at the time. It's obviously not really what's happening now, and I have quite a good relationship as well with my first husband and his wife, and it's great for the children. We all get on, and I've been to stay with them before. So in all that grief and sadness, there is huge healing, and you do become stronger. So never feel that you're going to be stuck forever. And amazing things, miracles do happen. Forgiveness is a really powerful thing, as and it's definitely worth embracing it, because it's changed my life.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that, we talked about this before also, is that you said forgiveness for yourself, and usually that's the last person we forgive is ourselves, because you have done such an amazing journey to recognize that most of the things that happened to you were because you were in this place that you attracted this. In fact, what you were saying to the universe is, look, I don't like myself, so please bring me somebody that really doesn't like myself, just to punish myself. And I know it was not conscious, of course, but it is a pattern that we have. But until you forgive yourself and accept it and love yourself, you were not ready to go further in your journey.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. And also, that you deserve you deserve to be happy. Because you feel down, depressed, unhappy, sad, whatever it is that you've manifested, or whatever your past is to make you feel that that's your reality. And no matter how low you feel, or however, go into a situation you feel that you can't backtrack. I decided obviously 3 weeks before, I gave birth to do it, and I did it, and it was amazing. I had no money. And the universe arrives to meet you. People will turn up in your life, people will do it, because that's when you open yourself up and you become your authentic self, and you start living your life, for all the right ways, instead of, being very closed and depressed. You raise your vibrations, and you just go for it. And it is an amazing journey, and I've got to say that I'm very proud of myself now. I could never have said that before. I really like myself. I really love myself. So, I've done a lot in a year, I've got to say. And in doing that, that's why I really want to inspire women, because I know how bad it is, how trapped I felt, and how low I felt as well, and how much I felt I deserved to be unhappy. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? That we come here, to just be love, and I did the complete opposite. But in that you do learn, living a life of contrast, you actually do learn how to love yourself. If you choose to, you have to make the choice that you're going to turn it around. And I always call it all the W's, where, what, why, when, and how. And it's whenever there's conflict in your daily life. And obviously I've got 4 children, so I've got very busy life. So no matter what's happening, it's very stressful. I'm an independent mom. I've got challenges, financial challenges. I'm driving around all the time. So whatever's happening in your life, and if something happens, it's conflict, you say, where am I? Am I coming from victim, or am I actually in my power? What is going on here? What is the truth? Is this just drama? Am I going back into the same cycle? Or, that's easy to figure out. And then why is that happening? Why have I manifested this again? Why, what's going on? And then when when am I going to choose? What kind of emotion am I going to choose to deal with it? Am I going to go back into the same negative emotion, or am I going to choose love and above? And once you keep doing that, this cycle will stop. Because I found with me, the same things kept showing up all the time. And as I said earlier, the universe isn't working against you. It's working with you. It's actually helping you to grow stronger. So as the same things were coming up, I was starting to recognize the same thing. And the more you embrace love and peace, the more you don't want conflicts and you don't want drama. But, I think sometimes when there's so much sadness and upset, you have to kind of see the under thing in it. And when you look at things like puberty, wow, that's like a huge thing, isn't it? But the underlying thing isn't it, that it's going to create growth and, great changes. But you have to sometimes see that within this whole conflict, that it's actually going to create huge change for you. But there is positive, but you sometimes have to really empower yourself and stop coming from it from a victim's point of view. So that's what I do. That's my little trick switch, all the W's that I do. So I go through them all, and like within 5 minutes you can analyse what's going on in your day. And for me, I always think, is that the truth? Is that really the truth, or is that just me trying to see it from my, perspective? And then just keep breathing, no matter what's happening. Just learn to just breathe through a lot of stuff, and then that's how things really start to settle down for me.
Yeah, but you're saying it's easy to recognize a pattern. Unfortunately, for most people, it is not, because there is gift in being a victim, and because they have friends around them that are going to reinforce this, they're going to repeat the pattern a few times. So in one way, you were lucky that your second marriage was so abusive, because it helped you really to reach a threshold of pain that was enough. Now I need to do something. But sometimes it's more subtle, and you can live a very miserable life for years and years unless you start really to look inside you and accept that whatever happened is because you thought you deserved this at the time.
Yeah, and also that you manifested it, you created it. And when you actually realise that you were creating your own world, I think that was the hardest part for me to really come to terms with in the beginning. When I was stepping out of my victimhood, it's like, did I really create this? And then when I thought, if I've created this pile of poo, really, basically, that called my life, if I've created this, then I can create the most amazing life, that I want, if I choose to do it. And it is all about choice, standing up no matter what, whoever is, that pesky little person in your life, because there's a lot to do with codependent relationships as well. If you're a victim, then you've got an abuser, you've got to be very careful. You've got the energy between you. So sometimes you just got to really cut the cords and stop the communication, stop the drama. So it's all about choice. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to look within you? And then once you kind of change that, the energy changes, and then that's how you become more empowered. So you really have to think about it. You really have to make positive choices. And the fact of change, as you and I both know, change in your life is a huge thing. In me, I've had a lot of changes. Like I've lost 5 stone in weight as well. That was a huge choice for me to make as well, because a lot of that is when I was being, in my marriage was quite abusive. So I was self-abusing myself with food. So I think, once I came out of it, I didn't need that extra protection for me emotionally as well. So, once you make choices, anything is possible. You can really change your life. It's all in your head.
Yeah, it's all in our heads, but the big problem we have is that it's all in our subconscious, and our subconscious is working all the time, 24/7. And if we don't do the work that we have to do on ourselves, and if we don't at least accept that we are a creator, we cannot change this. If we don't accept that we have a choice, then we're just living as a victim all the time. And most people are living a life without accepting this. But I would go a little bit further here, Daryl, if you allow me. Is that even the divorce itself, for you it was a choice, and you explained this very well, but most people are divorcing because of something that happened in the relationship, either cheating or something like this. and they still either are in a victim mode, but they're not taking responsibility that they created this this event.
Yeah, well, that's basically, I think, where you go to blame and shame. You know,
Yeah.
obviously it's not me, it has to be them. So you blame them for everything that's going wrong. You know, and it's all, that's where the kind of blame and shame comes. But, you know, I think, you know, no matter what happens, you always go back to yourself. You always go back. You know, even if someone is showing up arguing, it's like, why are they showing up in my life? Is that a part of me that doesn't really believe in myself? Is that a part of me where I need to grow, where, you know, I need to love myself more? So I think that's the most important thing, is not to blame, is completely stop blaming everyone else. You know, empower yourself and go, what am I going to do to make my life better? And just literally disconnect yourself from any negativity. And the one thing I found when I chose to do that, everything kind of floated away in my life, but I lost a lot of friendships. Well, they weren't that, you know, when I look back now, they weren't true friendships, but it's because the level you're at, you've got to realise when, you know, when your vibration is so low, they're the people that you're attracting into your life. So once you choose to change, you've got to be open that a lot of other changes are going to happen in your life. You know, family members, you know, friends, you know, you might even move house. There's a lot of things that happen. But once you accept that life is change, like every day is change, like every day something else happens. Like a lot of people think that life doesn't change and they fear change. But once you embrace change and know and you know, hope that everything is going to be amazing, that, you know, positive things will happen. And, you know, for me, so many things I had to deal with. Like, obviously, I had no home, you know, giving birth by myself, trying to look after other children. I had family problems with my own siblings and mum and dad. You know, obviously within my marriage. So, I mean, literally everything is, you know, divorce is so painful as well. But literally, when you don't, you know, kind of get into the whole negativity with your ex, you know, that's the one thing I found. I gained a lot of grace and dignity through that, which I didn't have in my marriage, but actually through divorce, I found it the opposite. And I know most people don't. They find divorce the most demoralizing and horrible experience, but actually I found a lot of grace and dignity because I became myself then, and I really did start shining and became authentic, and I really gave up all fights. I didn't, you know, I just kind of embraced peace and let everything go. I surrendered to everything, and that's the most beautiful experience you'll ever have, because that's when, you know, love starts really coming into your life, and the more love you feel for yourself, it's just every day gets better. You see things in completely different ways. I think you'll agree with me on that as well.
Yeah, and I think it's even more than this. It is really the divorce can be, on one hand, something that can really put us down for a very long time, but also can seed in ourselves all the beliefs that are not going to enable us to create our life. Like, I'm not good enough, it's always happened to me, anyway, whatever I'm trying, this will not happen, I can't have a new relationship, but even this one screwed up, and so on. So it can really lower our self-esteem. And the only way, and so exactly what you said, and exactly what you did, is to embrace our own power, but first of all, forgive ourselves. That just free up the energy, and then love ourselves completely. Because from this place of love, and then that would really bring us nicely to children, we can really be much more present for our children.
Oh, completely. And that was one of the things I really knew that I had to focus on, to be present in my life for me and for my children. And that's why, you know, I made a promise to myself that I would just love myself and I would just walk away from conflicts. Because, you know, your life is so busy, you really do have to make choices and stick with them as well. I mean, that's the most powerful thing. It's like, there is no going back. There is no going back when you forgive somebody as well. And a lot of people think that forgiveness is a weakness. That, you know, if you forgive someone, that they haven't actually really done that to you, or that it wasn't actually that bad. But forgiveness is a really powerful thing. It's, you know, it's an act of love. for yourself as well, most importantly, because you think that when you're angry with somebody that it's about them, but you're actually really still angry with yourself, and it keeps you really stuck in your life. And when you actually do, for the first time, I really felt it. It brought me to tears. It's just such an emotional thing, because it makes you realize from within that it's just love. Love is the answer to any question. If you're really stuck, it's just love. Just be love, And then when you are love, then you inspire people to be love as well, because you're allowing them to see that it's such an enjoyable emotion if you kind of let yourself be there. And it is powerful. It isn't weak to forgive and to move on. And once you do that, that's when your life really opens up, because you're not stuck anymore. And you have sleepless nights, you're angry, you relay conversations in your head over and over again, you've negative thoughts, their energy is stuck with you. And as you and I know, what are thoughts? They're not real. They're not. If you had thought every thought you had for the last year in front of you, you would have nothing. And that's the thing, we waste so much energy thinking about negative stuff, when all you have to do is just go, you know what, we are all human, we all make mistakes. I mean, man, I've made so many mistakes in my life, but because of them, it's made me the person I am now. And if I expect people to forgive me for the for the mistakes I've made in my life, then you have to expect people to forgive you, or for you to forgive them. So it has to work both ways. And also, it's really good to have empathy for that other person, to see them as human. Because sometimes when we're in conflict with somebody, we give up respect for them, and we don't actually really see them as another human being. But if you can kind of see them and embrace them as, we're all reflections of God, really, at the end of the day, aren't we? We're all one, we're all connected. Excuse me. And that's, if you really sit and think about it, about forgiveness, it really is, I think, the one thing that you should really do when you really come out of that victim thing and you think, right, what's the next step to do, is forgiving yourself and forgiving that person, and to let it go. A lot of the time, if divorce is painful, but then you think, great, because if that person isn't right for me, then who is right for me? It's wonderful, you're opening up completely new life for yourself. And don't save a place in your heart for someone that doesn't want to be there, or someone that doesn't deserve to be there, because you're only blocking that space for somebody that does want to be there. And that's why you just free it all up, let it go. And when you look at children and you see they wake, and animals as well, dogs, they live in the present. They wake up, they're laughter, joy, they do silly dances and hops and things. And my children teach me so much, because, when a dog does something wrong, you've got 10 seconds to correct it. And then that's it. It's gone. So, we tend to kind of live in the past all the time. Well, you did that to me 5 years ago, I'm not going to speak to you anymore. We get so caught up with our emotions, and we take them so seriously. And at the end of the day, life's a journey. It's about growth. Sometimes you just have to lighten up a bit and go, okay, it's fine. Don't cling on so much, every day. Forgiveness is an everyday thing as well. People think it's this big, huge thing that you've got to build yourself up to. And, you can forgive people every day. It's okay, and just embrace everyone. Smile at everyone as well. Smiling is the best thing as well to do on a daily basis. And just choose to wake up and, give your first thought up to God and go, right, today I'm going to have an amazing day. And just, constantly be connected to source, be love all the time. That's the way to be. And don't get caught up in conflicts. So many people get angry nowadays. There's so much road rage and all that things, and it's only really, don't sweat the small stuff. And it's just really consciously making the decision, if you are getting divorced, is get over it, basically. Deal with yourself, deal with your emotions. And you can sit and blame that other person, but at the end of the day, it's very important for you to deal with your own emotions. And how do you feel? How do you want to be? Be the best version you can be of yourself, and then everything else will fall into place. Because there's no point in being bitter. I've never met a happy person that's bitter, and I've never met a bitter person that's happy. So, it's up to you who do you want to be. And yeah, okay, accept that that was a sad time and that happened, but you've got a whole life in front of you. And for me now, I've made the decision that, all of my pain, it's great, I've bottled it up to be able to take wisdom from it and to help people, not to be bitter about it or twisted or, angry, because anger is a negative emotion. It doesn't really serve you, and it certainly doesn't serve the other person. So it's just really a choice what you want to do. And divorce can bring, well, it's brought me happier in life, so it's not always the end of the world, is it?
Well, I think that it's divorce can it's always a new start. That's first thing. But the second thing is we can choose whether we want to go on this new start, because we don't really have a choice here. It is a new start. With all the baggage of the past, with all the energy link, with all our energy stuck in the past, with all our anger towards another person or against ourselves, and just live our day every day with all this energy consumed around these emotions. Or like you did, just allow ourselves to free up, to free our energy, to free our anger, and then to forgive ourselves, because I believe that no matter the reason why there is a divorce, it is always us who triggered something. And usually, and that's my belief here, for working with quite a lot of people, it's usually because there is a part of us that is not fulfilled. Either, in your case, it was you were punishing yourself unconsciously for some reasons, but some other people are just feeling that they are not having the right roles, they're not heard, they're not significant enough, they cannot do what they want to do, or they're just not happy. And they're just going through the motion over and over and over and over, and suddenly inside them there's enough pain, either physically, emotionally, or just by not being fulfilled, that they will trigger the actions that will help them to go out. And I think this is probably right for your first marriage more, where even if you had a great life, a great house and everything, there was part of you that was probably not fulfilled. It was probably something bigger that you had inside you, and you were pushed or pulled, or your higher self wanted you to experience this.
Oh, absolutely, because at the time I thought that we were, soulmates, but absolutely not. There's no way in this earth, obviously nothing personal to my ex-husband, but he knows. We're absolutely nothing really in common. And, I'm really glad that it happened. Obviously at the time I wasn't, but, it was, I can't blame him. I mean, obviously the choices he made weren't very nice, but I gave myself up to him. Everything that he wanted from his career choice to where we lived I allowed him to make all the decisions. So I gave away my power, and there's nothing magnificent about that. So, but then you think, oh, because I did that, that's how you go into victim mode, because you think, oh, well, I was this and I did that for you. But that was my choice. That wasn't, he didn't make me do that. And that's when I didn't really understand it back then, but I do now, and I can see very clearly why it happened. And that's why now I'm really excited about my life, because all the dreams I had back then, I'm now embracing, and I'm now choosing to go for them now, which is amazing. But if I stayed there with him, I would never be me. And I love me now. I love my authentic self, and I live it daily. And I really honor myself for that they're the choices I made. I didn't know I was going to get to this point, and every day gets better and better for me. So that's why I really want to help women that really feel stuck, that think there is no better life, because they think fear kicks in, and you think, no, I'm going to stay because I don't have any money, I don't have any family support, or I'm going to have a baby, or whatever it is. I mean, I had to go through all of them, and I went through them all on my own, but I'm glad I did now, because now I if anyone ever says to me, oh, I can't, I will say you can, but you just have to look deeper and just believe in yourself. And that's the thing, when you start really believing in yourself, to your authentic self, why are you here? And also, what's your purpose? Was I really meant to be with that person? Am I going to, achieve my soul purpose by being with that person? And once you actually start looking at it like that, it can kind of help. But I think the hardest thing for people that go through divorce is when they have children, because that's when real conflict comes in the family unit, because the children then suffer, and then children are used as pawns. And that's the one thing I will say is that's the hardest thing to do, is not to react to that, because you have to really consider it, because when you're kind of locked up in all your pain, you forget that the children are suffering as well, and the children are experiencing it as well. So you really have to kind of look at it from their point of view as well. And you can stay stuck. Suffering is only necessary as long as you choose to suffer. And once you think, I don't want to suffer anymore, then you stop suffering. So, every day you make the choice, it can be as quick as you want it to be. But, as soon as you stop feeling sorry for yourself, anything is possible. And then you triumph. The only thing between, trying it, is an oomph, isn't it? You can try and try and try, and then, you'll get there in the end and triumph. But if you don't really try, then you're not going to get the oomph at the end of it, are you? And
No.
like stepping up, like fear, people think fear is all about stopping you from dying, but actually fear stops you from living. People settle and think, oh, I'll just stay because it's easier. It's not easier. Don't ever settle. Don't ever stop yourself from shining. And so a lot of people will want to hold you back. I've had that in my life, where people don't want you to change. People don't want you to get better. People don't want you to be happy, because that means if that's what you're doing, you're making them feel uncomfortable because they're stuck in their lives. So that's what I said earlier, once you start changing, be prepared that a lot of changes are going to come your way. But it's only a storm, it's not the rest of your life. It's only a little bit of conflict. But you're having conflict anyway in your life. So embrace it and go for it, and trust as well. Trust in the universe that it'll rise to meet, if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're doing it from your heart. Like, follow your heart. That's the best advice I can give anyone. As soon as I start listening to my inner voice, connecting to source and following my heart, that's when, the magic really started happening for me. And there is happiness after divorce. Even like, I'm an independent mom, and a lot of people don't want to be single, but I actually quite like it, because you really get to know who you are. You really get to love yourself. And then obviously, if there is going to be another relationship, I know now that I've dealt with all my issues and my baggage, my emotions, my negative thought patterns. So I don't want to have baggage if I am going to be in another relationship, because you want to kind of leave it all behind. And, it's all about having fun now. Communication, I never really knew how to communicate because I didn't feel worthy enough. I was always afraid to express my anger, and so you blame that on other people. And that's what I'm saying, once you come out of the whole blame and embrace yourself, you can kind of have quite a good laugh at yourself, because you can't take yourself seriously. You've got to really take a laugh at yourself and be able to reflect and go, oh, well, that wasn't really my finest moments. But learn from it. Just, that's all you can do. Is like, some people are afraid to go into their emotions if they're ashamed of their behaviour in the past. And I've had quite a lot of incidents in my life where I was very down and depressed, and the choices I made. But it's my life. It's what I did, and it's okay. It isn't, nobody's ever done anything wrong. It's just an experience. It's just a moment, and it's okay to let it go and to face it. And don't let anyone ever, try and shame you, because we're all human. We all do things wrong, and be easy on yourself. Be forgiving, as we said earlier. And that really helped me get over divorce, definitely.
Yeah. The word trying is not allowed in our home anymore, by the way, because my daughter just says she understands that trying is just an excuse already for failing. So we can't use it anymore at home. But what's interesting is that you said you clear up your baggage, and that's so important, because if we don't clear up our baggage, even if we are not aware of it, even if it's very unconscious, we are going to attract somebody in our life which will have a very similar baggage, and then it's just another repeat here.
Yeah.
But that's how.
Look like Liz Taylor.
Yeah.
You've got, that's what we were saying earlier. You've got to face it. Be able to recognise the things, in yourself that is negative, or when you've limited belief patterns. It's okay to go in. It's brilliant once you do that. Then you're opening yourself up, and communication is great then. But yeah, you don't want to keep manifesting the same old rubbish. It's deal with it and then move on to the good stuff.
Yeah,
That's definitely the way.
yeah. But for both of us, I think that what's very important is our children, and we are both, as you say, independent parent, and but it's very sad that in some cases, in most of the cases, that because there is so much anger by the parent who is keeping the children. Okay, you're talking about women, but I'm talking about men also here. Is that we, at some level, don't allow children, or they don't allow children to be expressing their love for the other parent first, because every time they mention the name, because if we don't clear up our own baggage, then it's like a trigger. It's like it's switching something, and we just get angry, sad, or dismissful, and we don't allow them to do this. And they have the right to love the both parents completely, but also they are feeling that no matter what they do, if we don't deal with accepting and forgiving and loving ourselves, no matter what they do, they are not feeling that they love you, and they're not feeling loved back. And that's very, very sad for children. So going on this journey of from a victim to accepting, and then at the end allowing ourselves to have a happy life after a divorce, is probably something very great for children.
Yeah, because I feel, all I can kind of speak for is my personal situation. You kind of like a little beacon for the children. They look at you every day and say, what's mom doing? And if it's okay for mom, that's what we'll do. They're like sponges. They soak every emotion up. And a lot of the time, you've got to be really careful because they don't actually show you their emotions. They hide their emotions. So you've got to constantly ask, are you okay? How does this make you feel? It is really, really hard when you're on your own because, you've got to be very aware. And that's why if you are in victim mode, you are not going to be present and there for your children. So, you've really got to move along from that stage and from the pity stage. And I think, as long as you start accepting your life, acceptance is a huge thing as well. Just accept where you are. It doesn't have to be where you want to be for the rest of your life. Like I knew when I left, I was at rock bottom. I had no illusions that, wow, I've left, this is it, my life's amazing. I knew it would take a year, but I dedicated this last year to healing myself and promising myself and promising my children as well. And that was the reason I left. But you've got to be able to get up every day, no matter how you do. You want to hide under that duvet and feel sorry for yourself. You've got to drag yourself out. But for me, I found the best thing as well was I love nature, as you know, and like to go out in nature every day and connect with nature and walk. Go by the sea, go around trees because that's very healing as well, and it helps you to kind of just sit and reflect. But just the worst thing you can do is stay and watch telly and watch a sad movie and cry your eyes out because it's not really going to help you. And if you just want to stay stuck in the same emotion and feel sorry for yourself, that's not going to help you either. So, anyone that's out there listening now that really feels like that, it is okay. Just reach for the next better thought that you have about yourself. And just really, if anyone is telling you that you're worthless or you're this, it's like, don't be in that relationship. You can leave. And listen to your own voice because your inner self is your best friend. And, you've got to promise him or her you're going to take care of them and make up to them, what you've created in your life. But also take a lot of power from it because look what, I've done for mine. I didn't sit there and go, per me, this happened to me twice. You take responsibility for the part you created in it, but also choose to inspire people and you've got the rest of your life to have an amazing time. So just turn it round. Don't live in the past. Don't live in the future. Just live every day and make each day a better day than it was the day before. And write down your dreams. If you're sitting there stuck now and think, I don't know what I want now. My whole life was my marriage. He was everything to me. I can't cope without him or vice versa. Get out a pen and paper and just start writing. Who am I? What were my dreams? You were a person before you were that relationship. So, go and find yourself again, dedicate yourself to listening to your inner voice, and slowly it will all come out. And like now, I'm so excited about my dreams, that I'm going to do now, and for me and for my children. And I never thought I would be in this place. I never thought I'd be so happy about who I am and myself. And it is hard work. It is fearful because, you know, when you have no self-esteem and you feel worthless, it's really hard then to shine because you're afraid of that, because you're afraid you will be powerful or people might like you because you've been told for a long time that you're worthless and no one likes you. So to come out of that victim thing and to shine, it's that real thing before you step up. But, you know, just, you know, all I can do is advise people to do it. Definitely do it because your life will change and it will all be for the better.
Yeah, completely, yeah. But it's do it, but really take responsibility for the bad, for the good also in your life. Because life is, our past is not, we don't need to live in our past, we don't need to keep the sadness and everything, the regrets from our past. But we have learned so many things about ourselves and learned so many skills and had so many contrasts also that it is helping us to move forward also. But as long as we resist this and as long as we don't take responsibility for our part, we cannot take responsibility for our future. And that's really, really important.
Yeah, and don't get into the thing, you know, whatever someone says to you about whatever is going on, you know, you don't have to believe them, you don't have to argue back, you know, you just have to say that's an interesting opinion and move on. It's really as simple as that. If you make the choice that you're going to change your life, then, you know, let it go. Let it go. Don't, you know, their opinion is of no interest to you. It's none of their business what you do. And it's, you know, as Michael Ozier says, mind your own vibration and don't worry about anyone else's. So, you know, if you're divorced, you're divorced. Or, you know, you're going through a divorce. But, you know, never say, oh, I don't know, or I can't do it. Or, you know, yes, you can. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And, like, you know, I know because I was there. And you'll try and convince yourself. I mean, the ego is a wonderful thing, isn't it? And fear is a wonderful thing. And it will stop you from doing it. But, you know, every day you'll be stronger. And to go out and exercise, that's the best thing as well. But, you know, that's why, you know, now I get such pleasure out of helping women, teenage girls, and now obviously with my book, like obviously children, to inspire them the importance of love, to get to children at a very young age, the importance of self-esteem. And that's now, you know, where my dreams are now, and to hopefully now start running workshops for women to know that whatever it is troubling you, you can get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Always look in, because the answer has always been there, and you never need to seek anyone else's advice because you always listen to your own voice, your inner voice, quieten your minds, and meditation is wonderful as well, and just, you know, learn to be love and be peace. And I know it sounds sloppy and people go, yeah, you know, but you can do it. You can turn that anger around, definitely.
Completely. And yeah, you're mentioning your book. Can you mention the name of the book?
Yeah, it's called Angelique Magnifique, and it's for young children. And at the moment, it's been illustrated. I'm really excited about it. So it's nearly ready for publishing. Basically, it's about a little fairy who lives in Miracle Mountain with her family. And one day, she's walking across the enchanted forest with her beautiful unicorn. She meets her guardian angel, appears to her, and explains to her that she is love, and that how important it is for her to tell all the children how important it is to love themselves, and also how important it is that they all have a guardian angel, because a lot of people don't realise that everyone has a guardian angel, and people are always quite surprised that that's the case, and especially obviously if grown-ups don't know that, they're not teaching children that. So that's really kind of my inspiration, is to teach children worldwide that to connect with the guardian angel. And then that's book one. But book two, Heaven Sent Witches, is all about then how she goes to Earth and helps children on her missions. And every story's got a moral and a happy ending. So the first journey is about helping a little girl whose dog has died, and she's dealing with death and grief and how she does that. So it's all really about the little trials and tribulations that children have. And obviously I'm going to do one about divorce, children going through divorce. So obviously, because that's quite dear to my experience. And that's my way of giving back to children, because I know I've put my children through it as well. And that has been our experience. So you can always turn it around, because that was always my guilt and my shame. Being divorced. And obviously I was brought up in Ireland. I was brought up from a very strict Catholic family. I was educated by nuns. So, there is no divorce. Divorce is wrong and God will punish you and things like that. Yeah, my family really struggled with divorce. And again, I suppose that was teaching for them, to kind of learn all about that. But, that was part of my lack of self-esteem and self-worth, because that was the shame I felt. But there is no shame, because nobody's done anything wrong, because I really feel that we come here with a sole purpose, and my sole purpose was to experience that. So there is in fact, I haven't done anything wrong. I've done everything I came here to learn and to experience. But what you've got to remember is it's only an experience. Divorce is not your whole life. It is not you. It's only a name. It's just an emotion. So it's it's learn that, to find the best possible meaning from it, and move on and be happy, and don't stay stuck in the emotion. And I wish I had known that after my first marriage, because that's where everything fell apart for me, because I didn't have any survival mechanisms. And I think that's wonderful what you're doing now, Bertrand, because of your experience as well. You're going to help people. And that's why I feel, really inspired to do that as well for women, because I don't want them to have to endure what I've done, but I know I've done it in order to learn it, to help people. So, I'm quite happy with my experience. I don't feel bitter about it or anything. I feel quite proud. It's quite a difficult journey I've chosen, but it stops then. And, now, there is only happiness and love and peace. And once you connect with all the positive things in your life, and that's when you realise, wow, I really did manifest that, because they were my thoughts. And to learn to change them.
Yeah, which is never really an easy journey. So our time is up, but Daryl, your journey is really inspiring, and I would like to thank you for sharing it so openly.
Thank you for having me on your show, Bertrand. It's been a real pleasure.
And I have a last question. You know that I'm doing this program called Happy After Divorce. Yeah. How do you think this is going to help really people? Because you know a little bit what is in this program. Also, we are sharing quite a lot of things for the last few months.
Absolutely, and it's been wonderful to share so much with you. And I think I've seen your program. I think it's amazing. As I said to you before, obviously I'm very empowered now, and I don't come from that point of view. But as a woman that has experienced it, I really wish I had known you then, Bertrand, because obviously couldn't stop me from experiencing my first divorce, but I certainly wouldn't have ended up being married in that relationship the second time round. So it's very important for people to know that there's help for them, because it can completely paralyse you, divorce, your emotions, and crumble you. And you and I both know that. So your program's really going to help people, and it's to try and reach out to as many people as you can.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. But your journey is really amazing, Daryl. And if I didn't know your full story and what you shared today, I would say people would have believed that what you went through, and how you are now showing up to the world with your project and everything, and your 4 happy children. It's just amazing. So
it is, and I see my children, the happiness in their eyes now, and that makes me proud. And if anyone, obviously wants to contact me, or wants to ask me any questions, or if I can help anyone that's listening, even one person today, to help them move on if they feel stuck, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, and either we can share your email address, or either they can email me and I will forward you the email. And let us know when Angelique will be out, and we will be very, very happy to get you back on this show and share this message with the world.
Thank you. I'd love to do that. I'm excited. I'm hoping that the illustrations will be finished by the end of the year, and it'll be ready for publishing in January. But obviously, I'll let you know, Bertrand. You'll know.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so thank you very much for sharing, and have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.